Alcyone, the last city, was primarily developed on the lands of Rungeri and Brook. What? You gotta leave text up longer than that. I didn't. I have no chance of reading that text.
Text-to-speech, TTS, and keyboard navigation is enabled by default. Would you like to leave them on? Keyboard navigation is required to use controllers and on Steam Deck. TTS can be disabled independently via the Options menu. Accessibility functions can be toggled via the H keybind by default. Disable TTS.
Okay. Text-to-speech has so much meme potential, though, but it's gonna read everything. Welcome to the city, all right? This panel is the story tray where the primary narrative will be shown to you. Click or tap here to continue. Okay? Yeah, it is high, isn't it? It's still kind of loud. Anyway, okay. From now on, click or tap anywhere within the story tray to advance the passage. Click or tap to continue. The game will always require your input through the story tray or map to progress. If you're unsure of what to do next, look for the most immediate interactive elements. You're about to experience a story about choice. You will have to make difficult ones, and you're encouraged to live with those decisions. The game will autosave periodically. You can also do so manually. However, it's recommended to avoid reloading if significant negative consequences happen. In subsequent playthroughs, you'll be able to restart, try other routes, and make different decisions. There is no true failure in the city, only experience. The triangle indicator at the bottom of the story tray will bounce if there's an additional text dialogue off screen and vanish at the end of a passage. Further gameplay instructions can be found under the Help button in the main menu. Accessible via the Escape key by default or clicking or tapping on the gear icon beside the story tray. Your existence starts here. You ready for existence, chat? Too bad. Here we go. Sorry, it's too late. We're already started existing now. Part 1, the last city. Can you recalibrate my sensors? I'm getting bizarre readings. Every star past 30,000 light years has just vanished. Wait, now 15,000. Excerpt from log file 238135. Pre-event collapse. I can barely handle my IRL existence. I'm sorry. Now you have to have this one too. I'm sure you can handle it, Crowley. Have you tried lowering your britches? Rebirthing facility. Waking up. Wake up, chat. Your senses come to you in fragments. Nearby is the sound of a heart monitor. Why do you know that word, chirping in regular intervals at the same rhythm as the organ inside your ribcage? Underneath your fingertips is the touch of something cold, sterile, and plastic. Your skin prickles to goose flesh. Your skin prickles to goose flesh as you notice how chilly the air is. On top of everything else, the scent of medicine is nigh suffocating as you inhale the ozone surrounding your form. Oddly, sight is the one sensation you're still lacking. Everything is black. Despite the certainty that your muscles are trying to open and close your eyelids. As if summoned by that effort, a point of light appears at the horizon of your vision. It expands like a big bang of sentience, bathing you in aseptic energy. The sparkles condense, spin, and reform into a grid of icons. An interface of blue translucent hovers, waiting in front of your spatial sense of self. Good morning, patient. Your vitals inform me that you've regained consciousness. Welcome. The speaker's neutral voice resonates from somewhere inside of your head, though you can't tell if their intonation is bored or merely polite. After a routine stasis period to balance city population levels, you've been cloned by the rebirthing facility and are awaiting discharge back to the living. What's up, Buck? I'm registering elevated stress levels. These will abate as your memories are downloaded and linked to your new neural pathways during this conversation. I will now begin a brief mental diagnostic to confirm that what you think your identity is actually aligns with our established records. The strange words come fast and with little context, but you begin to grasp their meaning. It's simple. You weren't alive before, and now you are. But who are you? Who are we? Fucking I don't know. We're... Oh. You've received an objective. In general, these can't be reviewed via the objective screen. Or these can be reviewed, rather. Keep listening. Slow and steady. Being born is an involved process. Okay. My name is Brumble Skringleblatch. Simple questions. Let's begin with easy details. Do you remember what your gender is? The questions seem straightforward enough. You think on it for a moment. This will begin character creation. Make your choices carefully. If you change your mind, you'll have to restart. Wow. Woman, man, androgyne, or none. Let's go androgynous. The city's second legal reformation officially ratified a third legal gender to recognize and protect those who shift between traditional binary. Nice. Personal identity. Very good. We'll move on. You can almost feel the voice nodding. When icons appear in passage, a prior choice or attribute has revealed additional text. Your secrets and perils can be reviewed through the inventory. Smaller icons appearing next to a choice denote what attribute has unlocked that option, or needs to be unlocked in order to select it. Pay attention to both while you play, as your choices will open different options, routes, and strategies. Your gender attribute has been set to androgyny. On to the next question. Your background. Do you remember who you were before your death? Death? The voice asks the question patiently, giving you plenty of time to respond. You ask yourself if you do. This will set your overall difficulty. During the demo, the first two options are recommended to ensure that you have the broadest range of character input. A denizen, one of the city's lowest tier residents, if you don't count the cast list. No one of importance, but sometimes that's the safest person to be. A citizen, whether a child of a minor house or a patriarch in the major one, citizens are nigh untouchable except to each other. Their machinations impact the entire city. Slightly easier option. A free person. Before your death? That's not right. You never died. You came from a random arrangement of reappropriated DNA, created solely to improve the city's genetic diversity. As a fully blank slate, you will have no backstory, and some choices will be locked during character creation. This is a slightly harder option. I'll go with citizen, I guess. Social status. Absolutely. The costs involved in your rebirth have already been paid in full. The city appreciates your support, of course. Alright. Your end, at least. The last one? Now, tell me how you died. Should this be a sensitive subject? This will set up your challenge. Opportunities will come up to change if the existing one has been dealt with. You remind the disembodied speaker that you didn't. An accident, it happens, a stumble, or looking in the wrong direction while crossing a golem rail track, or the light switch wiring is faulty. No one is at fault, typically. A murder, robbery, or something more calculated. Were you the victim of circumstance or meticulous planning? You don't recall, but you suspect the culprit will resurface. This will add an aspect to your long-term story. A punishment. Did you commit a crime against a citizen? They tend to frown on that. No matter. The city took your last life, but rebirth is technically a blank slate. You might be remembered by people in your past life. We'll go with an accident. How clumsy. We're just a clumsy, fucking, non-binary mess. There's a blown gasket at a scrumble factory. There was far too much scrumbling going on. This is a more common ending than you'd think, truly. Your challenge has been set to accident. Okay. Affairs of the soul. Was there someone important in your past life? Various ways to interpret that question. This will give you a connection, be that a relationship, romantic or not. You may run into this person again in your new life. No opportunity just yet. As a rebirth in more ways than usual, you haven't yet had the opportunity to figure out what sort of person you're drawn to, if any. That will change in time. An artisan of the Builder Guild, she had no way of coaxing golems and operating outside the parameters of the shapers intended for them, and could create structures that were near artwork. A self-styled poet in a place with no need for art. He was soft-spoken, genuine, and more interested in human interaction than city politics. He once wrote you a birthday poem, or was it for an anniversary? An individual of learning. They were well respected at the university and labored with empathy and grace to teach and train those students who crossed their path each semester. No one, no. Not one, no, but the two you spent time with were very dear to you. They'd met each other while working at the Prime's office and then met you. Not in the way implied. Many important people made their impact upon your past life, of course, but you wouldn't be able to pick one over the others. We'll go... Oh, that's locked. Okay, we'll go with... go with this, or this golem thing. Noted.
I'll mark your reply on your file.
Connection attribute has been set to the artisan. Wrapping up.
We're nearly at the end. All that's left is for you to figure out what you'd like to make of your next life.
This will set your drive. There are others to discover, and you will be afforded the opportunity to switch them later. Fame, a timeless pursuit. Be known, admired, loved, or at least to be talked about. Wealth, enjoy the finest foods, surround yourself with the finest things, hire others to destroy your enemies. You needn't dirty your own hands. Discovery, leave the city. It's impossible, of course, and countless have tried before, but maybe you'll succeed. Revenge, find the person who was responsible for ending your last life, and reward them in kind. All right. We'll go with fame, I guess, or discovery. Let's choose the impossible. Sights unseen.
I'll make a note.
Revenge. We literally can't pick revenge because we weren't murdered. The voice gives no indication of whether or not it approves of this objective. Your drive attribute has been set to discovery. Graduation.
Excellent. Let's just recap what you've said.
You've associated the following attributes with your character. We're an androgynous citizen who's accident-prone and likes art and wants to get the fuck out of here. Great.
Does this all sound right to you? If so, we will move on with the discharge process.
Make sure everything is in order before you continue. With a small exception, these choices are generally permanent, but you can start over from the main menu. Looks good. Alive at last. There's a palpable clap of sound in your ears, and the interface disappears, replaced with utter blackness.
You can open your eyes.
The voice you hear now is different to the one that had been with you earlier. You also realize that the sound is closer and physical and not within your mind. You open one eyelid, wincing as bright, sterile light assaults your sense of vision. With a moment, you're brave enough to open both. You lie in a cold, firm bed in the middle of a hospital room. Your borrowed memories tell you that this is the recovery area for newly awoken rebirths. Standing beside you, blank expression on its smooth, shale-gray face, is one of the humanoid golems crafted for service roles. The construct is made of biometal, an invention of House Sutto, and something shapers have kept a monopoly over ever since the city's founding. Anyone else stumbling over how casually the objective says continue with your rebirth? You could just continue with your rebirth. Come on, Herman. Just hurry it up. Chop, chop. You've always found servants somewhat unsettling to look at. Wait, did you? Your mind believes so, but you aren't sure why. Cables trail from jack points on its back to a bank of solemn-looking machines at the far wall of the room. They beep and blip with internal logic, processing the artificial intelligence that allows this golem to be more personable and self-aware than most. Its face creases into an uncomfortable semblance of a smile.
Mind your balance when you stand. Your new muscles haven't got a lot of proper use yet.
You've completed an objective. It can be reviewed via the objectives screen. Your next life is about to start. Choices.
The last thing to organize is your temporary post on discharge. New rebirths must complete a short internship to refamiliarize their cloned body with motor skills, social interactions, and city behavioral expectations. It won't take up much of your time, but it's required of everyone.
The golem pauses for a moment.
Even citizens, I'm afraid.
Okay. I, for one, would never want to be late to my rebirth, so chop chop. Yeah, I don't want to be late. Absolutely not. Decide your internship. Beyond choosing your starting gear and stats, its impact is minor. This will guide your playthrough's initial focus. Intern with the Builder Guild. Help to organize a marathon. Volunteer at a university library. Work on speech writing at the Prime's office. Definitely gonna go with the Builder Guild. Golems alone cannot build and maintain the city. Humans handle work requiring delicate or careful manipulation. The Builder Guild organizes that, and more. This will largely train your body trait, a quality governing strength and physical prowess. Okay. Work, work. Work, work. The golem leads you out and escorts you through the brief discharge procedure. You encounter no other humans, whether doctors, nurses, or rebirths like you, before you're let out of the hospital and enter the first hour of your new life. The rebirthing facility resides in the middle of Epsilon, not tremendously far from the periphery wall dividing the citizen district from the denizen sextants. Down the golem tram line to the Epsilon gate pops up an unbidden factory in your head. Prompts from your newly installed memories will be with you for some time to come. Far in the distance, you can see the Citadel's towering spire rising over the rest of the cityscape, further beyond that skyline of blackness. Utter blackness. Nothing exists past the city's outer boundary and the protective barrier projected from the Citadel's highest point. In the collapse, the nihility consumed everything except for the last vestige of life. This last vestige of life. City residents are long familiar with the finality of their situation. At the moment, the false sky is a shade of neutral blue and resembles what the real thing might have looked like before the reality field went up. In the city's early days, staring at the blackness of the nihility was so traumatic that the Shapers engineered an atmospheric facade to fool residents. Even so, cracks in the fiction are visible if one pays enough attention. Strange, unnatural structures appear in space beyond the city's barrier. Some of the largest objects have names, like little moons. The distant queen is the most infamous, but residents lost the habit of inspecting the sky long ago. In any event, it's time to move on. You, fortunately, needn't walk far to reach the destination of your assigned job. The Builder Guild is controlled and operated by House Lusco, but a citizen wouldn't dare deign to do manual labor themselves. Those types of jobs are outsourced to the guild house operating the Epsilon Sextant, close to where the golem released you from the hospital. You set off at a brisk walk, following the directions provided to you. You've received an objective. Go to the Builder Guild. You decided to focus on your body attributes. Time to get started. All right, we finally see some... We All right, what are we doing here? You turn up the appropriate locations as ordered. The foreman of the construction site greets you with pursed lips and a frown. Ugh, another one? Without quite explaining what one he thinks you are, the foreman gestures impatiently for you to follow behind him and turns away without waiting. You hurry to avoid being crushed by a faceless golem the size of an elephant as it maneuvers building materials in place. An elephant? What could one of those be? Then the memory comes to you. An ancient creature, long dead, as big as a house. The foreman is full of complaints as he walks ahead of you. I have better things to do than chaperone rebirths all day, yet that's what's evidently expected of me. There's no consideration given to me in my task list. It's NextFest indeed. What's up, Chef? How you doing today? The stout man ignores you as he passes piles of metal and inert golems waiting to have their control mechanisms exchanged for their next tasks. He brings you the door of a small gray shed and with clear impatience gestures for you to enter. Inside, the poor lighting could be intentional or an artifact of the man's temper. He stares as if he expects you to know more about the situation than he does. Well, why are you just standing around? Have a seat already. You're about to begin your first encounter. Completing them will give you your knowledge. This is the city's true currency, and having the right bits of it will open new pathways, opportunities, and secrets. The choices you'll confront in most encounters have no easy solution, but for this first one, you'll face reduced and non-fatal risks. Do not grow complacent. What's up, McQueeb? How you doing today? You've received the following attribute: body encounter, fresh start. Follow the foreman. Begin encounter, body, path, day's work. Party in the rebirthing vat. Everybody into the bolding chamber. Come on, everybody. Let's all get in the bolding chamber. Long list of things to do. You know, I gotta say that the music's now kind of quiet. The foreman stares you down with a sour expression, disdainfully regarding your presence. All right, then. There's a laundry list of unfinished work, and I got it for you for the entire day. Let's get this over with. Different choices will open up below as you progress through the encounter. Heavy lifting. The builder is in the middle of a particularly large commission at the moment. As such, they need help moving some of their delicate resource canisters. Sweat and pain. You spend a considerable amount of time carting boxes of uniform size and nondescript packaging from storage to an inert transport golem waiting for cargo. There's a disconcerting rhythmic pulsing vibration under your feet, almost like breathing. It's a projection. It's projection, of course. Constructs don't respirate. After hours of this tedious, mindless work, your arms are like sinewy ropes of fire. Every muscle hurts, and you wonder how the cubes can be so dense and leaden. You weren't told what's inside of them, but the site foreman and other workers made it very clear that the containers were not to be opened for any reason. You carry one of the remaining boxes to an empty space near the very back of the golem. Fatigued and pained, a momentary noise outside is all it takes for you to stub your foot on the corner of another crate and drop the one that you're holding. Trying to avoid having the box land on a limb, you contort your body and twist sideways. You wince and screw your eyes closed, waiting for the crashing, breaking noise that's sure to come as whatever's inside the box is damaged by your ineptitude. Luckily, though, the crate slams hard against the floor of the golem's innards. It seems only damaged, but not destroyed. It definitely seems like a book game. You're less certain about whatever it contained, and as you approach, you hear several low chimes originating from inside. Almost sound like an alarm. After a trio of blips, the sound dies out and disappears, leaving you standing before a dented container and a dilemma. Open it. Ignore what you think you heard. You were told to leave the boxes alone, and that's what you ought to do. There's no point in getting yourself in trouble by disobeying orders. Yeah. But we could open it. There's something odd inside the box, and from the way your colleagues were carting theirs around, you suspect they know more about what they're holding than you. We're going to ignore the box. Far smarter. That's us. We're smart. Am smart. Leave it alone and back away. That's the more prudent course of action. The foreman wouldn't tell you to not meddle if he didn't have a reason. Plus, alarm noises coming from something in an unmarked box invites only concern. You exit the golem at a not quite running flag down and flag down the first worker you see. The woman dislikes the intrusion, but her eyes widen as you explain what you did. Bloody rebirths. I'll deal with it. Go tell the site manager what happened right away. You do as ordered and find the manager in a small oversight station by the shed, and you'll be moving the boxes from all day. You look surprisingly frail. The man purses his lips and nostrils flare as you tell him, out of breath, what you've done. You didn't open any of the crates, right? He nods with satisfaction when you inform him that you did not. I think you've done enough for us today, either way. Thanks for your help. Head back to the foreman for your next assignment. He places a hand on your shoulder and physically turns your body around towards the exit with an abnormal degree of strength given his slight appearance. Getting the hint, you exit the office. It's impossible not to notice the high buzz of activity around the transport golem as you leave it behind. Though. Okay. The foreman stares you down with a sour expression disdainfully regarding your presence. Okay. Light filing. The Builder Guild's transaction records need to be sorted. This is a lot of dialogue. It's kind of like a... It's described as a choose-your-own-adventure. The makeshift structure serving as an accountant's office is on the opposite side of the construction site you were working on previously. A clerk greets you with a relieved expression as you walk inside and explain your purpose.
This is such a blessing. I'm really swamped at the moment, and everything is much more disorganized than I like.
It's not hyperbole. Pink receipts and white papers carpet almost every square meter of the shed. There are more envelopes than you knew existed in the city. The documents closest to your shoes contain unintelligible columns of numbers with monetary information outside of your understanding.
Start with the documents in the back corner. You work out a sense of where everything belongs in no time. You do know how to alphabetize, yes?
He asks, but doesn't wait for you to reply before pointing the one with one hand and steering you away with the other. He leaves it to you and gets back to work, to his own work. To the clerk's fortune, you do indeed know the alphabet, and the work becomes mindless and automatic after a few hours. In one respect, this is a welcomed improvement over the body-aching task you performed earlier in the day, but it's still a boring duty. The characters and numerals on the pages you have lost whatever meaning they once had. You catch yourself scanning labels like a computer. Sodao Lusco, etc. The tedious routine of sorting and filing continues for an unknown duration. There are no timekeeping devices in the room, and the clerk you first met has vanished eons ago. You're not sure how long you've actually been inside the shed. Thus, when your hand slips and knocks over a pile of brown folders by mistake, it takes you a few seconds to notice the bright red one nestled among the heap. Confidential, written in loud, block caps letters, piques your curiosity, especially as the to from field suggests that it's a Builders Guild correspondence. I'm not doing it. We're not getting involved in none of this shit. All right? I love that with both tasks we've made a mistake. This is very on brand for this character. I find the game very peculiar so far. Yeah, I think I'm okay for the time being. My voice feels like it's doing okay, but yeah, Toady had said that it feels kind of abstract and bland. Well, I feel like it's kind of like, because we're like kind of like a child at this point in terms of like, you know, we're not like a child, but like we still are. We're like a new vatted person, so I feel like we're just having to learn the basics. So I wonder. I'm kind of curious what things are like after we finish this like first internship day, but pretty sure that the adventure comes from the options. Billy wasn't picking because he doesn't do crimes. You think that there's going to be adventure in some of these other crimes? I'll pick some more confrontational choices. You think better of digging too far into the guild business. Houses are powerful entities to make enemies of, and you've only just come back to life. I feel like I'm choosing vanilla options, and so my life is just a vanilla one. This is like that one Rick and Morty episode where like he plays that life game, and he just has the most boring basic bitch life and whatever. Anyway. You leave the file alone and continue to working on the rest of the pile. In time, the clerk returns and gives a satisfied grunt with your progress.
Very good. You've been very useful. I'll be sure to let the foreman know. Speaking of, you can go ahead and return to him now. You've done all I need.
As ordered, you return to your taskmaster to check in before completing your in-ship. Yeah, the carpet salesman one, yeah. Yeah, where he like plays the whatever the real life VR game or whatever. Where he lives the whole life for the guy. And Rick goes off the grid without a social security number. Yeah, yeah, Roy. That's right. Nothing else to be done here. Time to receive your next task. Task. Package delivery. Your final internship task. The foreman has asked you to deliver a few important parcels. Let's do it. More boxes. Your remaining task is, at least, less physically intense than the first and not as monotonous as the second. You were given a satchel full of small parcels and envelopes and a list of names associated with each, then told to deliver them around the construction site. It might have been tricky locating people you don't know and wouldn't recognize, but most of the workers moving in length and breadth of the site are helpful. When you inquire about the identities of various names on your roster, you're directed their way with a series of grunts and head pointing. After an hour, you're nearing the bottom of the satchel, and your hand brushes across the unmarked envelope that just bears one name. Dominicus Sadao. Your restored memories fill in the blank and informs your brain that he's the current patriarch of House Sadao, and thus the Shaper Guild itself. The envelope's material is deep emerald green, and the name of that font is embossed in gold leaf. It looks ostentatious, and you're not sure why it ended up in a bag with work orders, replacement parts, and receipts. Of course, that you're holding a letter addressed to a house leader is nonsensical in and of itself. It's hilarious to picture him in a sextant on a dirty work site, mingled amongst commoners and mud. You'll have to get to House Sadao somehow. Although as soon as that idea comes to mind, a dark voice in the back of your thought points out another option. You could also open the letter for yourself. Risky. Oh yeah, we're doing it. Earlier temptation aside, this is meant for the leader of the most powerful houses. The punishment they can bring down on your existence is unparalleled. Duh. Crimes. It's easy enough to do. Open the letter and read what's inside. If you're careful enough, you can probably make it look as if it never happened. Crimes. Threats and sabotage. The builders in the House Lusco, by extension, have remained very patient with respect to Sadao's ongoing payment failures. It's now been several years since an invoice was paid in full, and Sadao's continued financial difficulties are beginning to affect our house's interests. What's up, Mikads? How you doing today? This letter serves as a final notice. If debts aren't repaid by the end of the year, our guild has made arrangements to void all contracts with Sadao. We will also be in a position to offer many of your house's services to other clients if needed. The choice is yours. It's signed by Olympia Lusco, matriarch of House Lusco. You pause as the seriousness of the situation penetrates your mind. As it penetrates your mind. This is dangerous information, but it could be valuable to someone. The politics of the 6 ruling houses are full of shifting allegiances and secret plans. Crime, at least of the violent type, is somewhat uncommon in the city, but one house openly moving against another threatens that fragile equilibrium. Knowing what's planned in advance could better position you to come out through such turmoil with your neck completely intact. Before you can give it further thought, a figure in the corner of your eye captures your notice. A tall man in a slick black suit and sunglasses that obscure most of his face watches you from the sidewalk at the far end of the site. His arms are folded. Even hidden behind the glasses, you can feel his gaze directed upon you. His lips are pursed with disappointment. The stranger gives you the slightest shake of his head and walks off. You aren't sure what his appearance means or who he works for, but it's not a good omen that he saw you opening the letter. Son of a bitch! God damn it! We could have just lived a normal life, but then we decided to do letter crimes! An attribute has changed. Almost finished to become done. Okay, got it. We did it. My wariness is increasing. We were caught interfering. Oh no, we're a troublemaker. It's time to be released. Let me out. Follow the stranger, finished at last. This action may have consequences. Yeah, let's follow this guy. You aren't sure who the person works for, but they've seen you, and that's risky to ignore. Find out who they are. You want to keep your own neck safe. Risky. We're going to get murdered. You pick up the trail of the slick-dressed stranger without much work. It's almost as if he made no effort to dissuade you from pursuit. You find him nearby, leaning against the support column and casually gesturing to the document you're holding. Did you follow me so you could hand that envelope over? Not waiting for a response, he reaches out in a flash and yanks the letter addressed to Patriarch Sadao from you. His lips are pursed as he opens it and reads. Yes, we'd begun to suspect that they were up to something like this. He answers a question you hadn't asked, folding the letter up and sliding it into his pocket. Even so, it won't do well for upstart houses to misunderstand the pecking order. I'll ensure that this gets to the intended, my employer. So the Immaculate Stranger works for House Sadao. That could be very troubling if his house got the wrong idea about why you were opening their mail. As if reading your thoughts, or more likely staring at your expression, the stranger chuckles and waves his hand dismissively. I'll remember to put in a good word for you. Thanks for bringing these matters to our attention so discreetly. The Builder Guild doesn't know what you've done, and it's advantageous to both of us if things remain that way. One bit of advice, though. You have an air of somebody newly rebirthed. Be careful of what allies you choose. That advice now delivered, the stranger inclines his head and departs. A tickle of intuition makes you suspect this time he wouldn't be so easily followed. Okay. Reputation with House Sadao is now increased. You've picked up a blight. You're involved in the affairs of a house. Uh-oh. I think that guy just called us stinky. Maybe we should take a bath. Nothing else to be done here. Okay. Finished at last. Time to go. After a long day of menial tasks, you feel relieved to finish. You do one crime and we're already in trouble. Hey, we got allies. We can place our lives in the hands of House Sadao. I'm sure of it. Right? There's no way that they wouldn't. They got our back for sure. After a long day of menial tasks, you feel relieved to finish. You turn to the foreman one final time. He's still dismissive and disinterested when you show up. Well, I suspect you've got the gist of things now. Good luck in your new life and so forth. I still have work to do, so close the door behind you as you go. He scribbles a signature on a certificate. With this, your internship is over and you're permitted to discharge from the rebirthing facility. Oh, I nearly forgot. You're entitled to some equipment as payment for today's work. Grab it as you leave. An assistant of some sort waits for you by the office exit and hands you a pile of gear. Bounty for your bone-breaking labor. Encounter complete. Here's your breakdown of your positive results. You've learned a secret. The builders are threatening House Sadao. You've improved your reputation with a faction. Here's the breakdown of your negative results. You've picked up a blight. You were caught interfering. You picked up a blight. You were involved in the affairs of a house. That's fine. That's fine. You completed an objective that can be reviewed in the objective screen. Received a piece of equipment. Strength engram. Energy wristlet. Kick a tablet. Frenzy Sonata in C minor. Your new gear will be automatically equipped this time, but pay attention to future items to improve your stats. Inventory can be accessed through the sidebar. Tap or click on the category tabs, then interact with the items in the left pane to equip. Interact with the right pane to remove. The inventory screen will open next. Okay. New beginnings again. Well, here you are. Finishing the day was your first step towards setting out on your own. Or getting out on your own, making your mark on the city, and working to achieve your goals, whatever they may be. You don't feel quite invigorated. A full day of work has left you tired and drained, but at least it's a productive sort of tired. Either way, progress. Your internship was informative, giving you inklings into the politics of the city and between houses. In time, you'll learn what impact the choices have had, what impact your choices have had. You start making your way back to the rebirthing facility to turn in your certificate. Retracing steps you took that morning, your focus roams to the sky above. The false day is ending as blue gives way to dusky vermilion. Lights begin flickering to life across the skyline as night falls. You quicken your pace, reaching the entrance of the rebirthing facility in mere minutes. While engineers put some variance into the algorithms that control the city's atmosphere, sunset and sunrise are fairly consistent experiences. That's likely why you noticed, if only on a subconscious level, that something unusual was happening this time. The nihility is generally, if erroneously, thought of as a void. But while life doesn't exist there, as humans understand it, the nihility isn't a vacuum. Nihility is an all-consuming phenomenon triggered into existence by the event. It constantly pressed against the city's protective reality field. While the nihility mostly disrupts and destroys matter on a subquantum level, in many cases it also twists and remakes and distorts it into new, perverse forms. For example, the unknown structure colloquially known as the Distant Queen and Thor's army orbit the city on a regular basis like captured satellites. The nihility is not believed to be sentient, but were it not for the reality field, even the city would have been destroyed during that event catastrophe. Structures orbit the city at a regular observable rate. At regular observable rates, the origin of those structures is unknown, as, for obvious reasons, there's no way to research them. Ground-based telescopes are affected by the Citadel's reality field in the same way the nihility is kept down. Observation beyond it is limited. Nevertheless, there are things out there, and right now you have an uneasy sense of them. The largest, the Distant Queen, is staring at you. Okay? Something very bad is occurring. Begin encounter trapped. Okay, after this event, then we'll probably call it good. So I just wanted to get out of that, initial one. The satellite is best described as human head that had been melted with an asteroid and expanded to a similar size as the latter. Let's seduce the queen. Let's do it. We're gonna riz her up. Enormous craters take the place of an empty eye socket, and an agonized mouth twisted in rage is too obvious to be mere human personification. The celestial object orbits the city around this time daily, usually taking an hour to cross from horizon to horizon. City residents often avoid looking up during that hour, but you've noticed something in the distance that can't be overlooked. A line of black is bleeding in the sky a short distance ahead of you, spreading outward across the skin of the reality field as if it were cracking apart. Uh-oh! That couldn't be what's happening, could it? There hasn't been a field breach in decades, but a sudden blackout of external illumination confirms your fears. Sirens wail with a piercing screech, and alert blares from speakers systems embedded throughout the block. Warning! A breach has been detected, and containment protocols have been activated. Stay indoors and remain calm. Panic explodes around you. You watch residents scattering like vermin as they seek refuge from the city's atomic annihilation seeping into the city. Epsilon Gate isn't far, but you can see the local field generators firing up as the sextant is sealed from the rest of the city. It's a precaution in case the breach doesn't reseal or exposure is extensive enough to write off the zone entirely. You need to get somewhere safe and quickly. The breach is widening and wisps of nihility are starting to leak into the reality of the city. Try to get inside the rebirthing facility. Try to go somewhere else. Appeal to the kindness of strangers. Modified charm, 14%. 78% chance if we can find somewhere else. Let's do that. Given how important the facility is to the city, it's likely sealed as soon as the alarms went off. Many other buildings have a local field generator. Find one. Let's do that. A brief moment of respite. The rebirthing facility is an important, integral part of the city's infrastructure, and you surmise that it would have gone into lockdown immediately. Better to hide out from the breach in safety somewhere else. You scan the area and notice a shop across the street. Its owner is waving frantically towards you. A split second later, you run for the door and push yourself past its entrance before the owner slams it closed. Your mouth tastes of ozone and your arms prickle into goosebumps as you cross a localized reality field and come to halt in the lobby of the store. Several others are sheltered in the shop, throwing worried glances out the window to the window and the blackness outside, but for now you've got a moment to breathe. Your body is increasing. My body is increasing. Wait out the breach. Temporary relief. Safe inside for the time being. You start to process the situation. Breaches are immensely uncommon, but potentially catastrophic. The growth of the nihility is exponential. Each atom of matter it touches destroys and remakes only speeds up the consumption of more reality. Already now, as you look through the glass window in front of you, you see that the breach has tripled in size after just minutes. Suddenly, a small force of peacekeepers turns to the corner, armed to the teeth and clad in black armor and heavy helmets that mask any identifying features. 2 golems roll after, each looking like an oversized battery. Thick yellow cables snake from them in the rear of the devices that the peacekeepers hold. Your reinstated memories remind you that these lasers push the nihility back long enough for the reality field to reorient itself and heal the breach. Even peacekeeper armor is interwoven with its own field generator, affording them direct exposure to the nihility for a brief period if necessary. If you're in your peripheral vision, you notice a figure running towards the soldiers and the salvation that they represent. But the peacekeepers don't see her, nor do they seem to have noticed what you did. One of the tendrils of blackness is slinking to ground level behind her. Try to help the woman. If you don't interfere, you can't imagine that the woman has any chance of survival. It's too late. You notice how fast the nihility is consuming the immediate vicinity. You've got no hope of reaching her. We're going to help. We can do it. Horrible. You take a deep breath. Though it's only instinct, the nihility won't suffocate you or anything. And throw the door open. You scream, hoping to attract the attention of both the woman and at least one peacekeeper. It's to no avail, though. The tendril has spread out to human-sized dimensions, resembling a split blotch of wet ink hovering in the sky. The antimatter grazes the woman, and she lets out a blood-curdling cry as the nihility begins converting her form. The peacekeepers whirl around toward her, firing pulses of energy at the blob that used to be the woman. The peacekeepers make quick work of the incursion. In seconds, she's no longer there. With the nearest threat dealt with, the soldiers return to the attention of the building-sized hole in the surface of the reality field. Despite the cold efficiency of the woman's death, at least her memories would have been backed up at the rebirthing facility. In a few weeks, she'll be alive again. You, on the other hand, will share her fate if you continue to stay outside. Oh, God, I was exposed to nihility. Oh! 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 Oh, my wary. Oh, I'm so wary now. All right, let the peacekeepers deal with it. All right. Crisis averted. The peacekeepers direct their weapons at the growing rent in the sky above you. Their guns fire a barrage of energy at the opening. Initially, the counter-response seems ineffectual, but you can see that their firepower is regressing into the protuberances that emanate from the breach. They continue shooting until the nihility is driven back behind the shield covering the city, and finally the reality field reseals overhead without a sound. Don't expose yourself. We were just freshly rebirthed. I mean, what's the worst that's gonna happen? We're gonna get rebirthed again? No problem. Now we got nihility all over us. I'm covered in nihility. Ugh. It's seeping into my bones. Chaos and excitement aside, it's finally time for you to receive your discharge paperwork from the facility so you can be on your way. Encounter complete. Okay. Positive results. I gained no positive experiences this time. My negative. Ah, I got nihility. And I didn't help the woman during the breach. I fucking tried, okay? I think I'm good. I think we've been playing. This is like pretty long already, and it's still not done. I think I got the gist of it. There's a lot of text. Okay. So this is a text-heavy choose your own adventure. You play a newly create whatever a newly birthed a newly birthed person, and you, let's see, in a sci-fi world set in the last city, in a city being barraged by antimatter kind of stuff. I liked the writing with the descriptions of like the void, the nihility kind of breaking through. I like the writing. I think it's probably like it's either a 2 or a 3 for me, because like it feels pretty niche. I'll give it a 3. I probably wouldn't play that again. If you're into text heavy, choose your own adventures. Okay.